Welcome to This Explainer. Look, today we're tackling something pretty ambitious but completely necessary. We are taking a massive, dense, 109-page financial literacy curriculum, the kind of stuff that usually takes weeks to get through, and we're distilling it all down into a clear, actionable blueprint to build your financial house. So if you've ever felt totally overwhelmed by money management, you are absolutely in the right place.
Before we even think about pouring the concrete for our financial house, ask yourself this. Do you actually know your money personality? Are you a spender, a saver, an investor, maybe a balancer? And hey, do you know your exact, true net worth right now? If your answer is a hard no, don't panic. Seriously, most of us never learn these basic fundamental concepts in school. We literally just don't know what we don't know. But that changes today.
So here's our agenda for this explainer. We're looking at 1. Budgeting essentials, 2. Mastering credit, 3. Smart goals, 4. Protecting your wealth, 5. The power of investing, and 6. Big life decisions.
All right, Section 1. Budgeting and saving essentials.
Taking absolute control over your daily cash flow really starts with the 50-30-20 rule. You simply can't build a financial house if you're constantly springing leaks. So how does this break down your after-tax income? Well, you allocate 50% to your absolute needs, things like rent, groceries, and transportation. Then 30% goes to your wants, going out to eat, movies, the fun stuff. Finally, a strict 20% goes straight into savings. It's a framework that beautifully balances surviving today with planning for tomorrow. If you notice your needs creeping up to, say, 60%, it's definitely time to audit your spending. Maybe negotiate that internet bill or double-check the per-unit pricing on your groceries.
Now, let's see how this builds into your first major milestone. Remember that 20% savings bucket we just talked about? Well, before it goes anywhere else, it absolutely must go toward building a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. And you want to keep this cash highly liquid, meaning it's sitting in a super accessible savings account. Why? Because life happens. Job losses happen. Medical emergencies pop up out of nowhere. You literally cannot build the walls of your financial house on a cracked foundation.
Moving right along to Section 2, Mastering Credit and Debt.
With our foundation locked in and our emergency fund good to go, it's time to build the walls of our house. We do this by mastering the highly misunderstood tools of credit and debt. Look, a lot of us have been taught to just fear debt, right? But we really need to unlearn the stigma that all debt is inherently evil. Instead, we categorize it. Good debt is basically an investment in your future that increases your wealth or quality of life. Think a sensible mortgage or education that directly boosts your earning power. Bad debt, on the flip side, just destroys your stability. We're talking massive credit card balances for stuff you didn't really need, or the absolute worst offender, payday loans with those astronomical interest rates.
Now, to leverage that good debt and snag the best interest rates, you need a solid credit score. And here is exactly how that score is built, in descending order of importance. A massive 35% is literally just paying your bills on time. 30% is your credit utilization, meaning if you have a $10,000 limit, it's best to use as little of it as possible. Then comes length of credit history at 15%, followed by credit mix and new credit at 10% each. But you know what's really fascinating? What's not listed here. Your actual income has absolutely zero impact on your credit score. Crazy, right? It's entirely about how reliably you handle the money you actually have.
Speaking of handling money reliably, let's talk about the Schumer's box. This is a legally required table on every single credit card offer out there. Look, credit cards can be amazing tools for cashback and rewards, but really only if you pay them off entirely every single month. If you start carrying a balance, this little box reveals exactly how fast a 20% or even 28% APR, that's your annual percentage rate, can trap you. The interest compounds so incredibly fast that if you're only making those minimum payments, you can drown in a very deep hole very quickly. Always read the fine print.
All right, on to Section 3, Setting Smart Financial Goals.
We're framing out our house now by transforming those vague financial wishes into clear, actionable targets. Instead of just saying, hey, I hope to be rich one day, which, let's be honest, is completely unhelpful because it means nothing, use the SMART framework. Your goals need to be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. For instance, a SMART goal sounds more like, I want to save a $100,000 down payment to buy a house by the time I turn 30. Now that is a concrete mission you can actually build a monthly roadmap to hit.
To honestly track your progress toward those SMART goals, you have to calculate your net worth.
It is essentially the ultimate scorecard of your financial health. It's simply your total assets, like your home value, your savings, your investments, minus your total liabilities, which are things like mortgages, student loans, and credit card debt. And hey, the first number is negative right now because you're young and carrying student loans. That is totally okay. The main goal is to track it and watch it grow into the positive over time.
Let's move to Section 4, Protecting Your Wealth.
I mean, what good is building wealth if it just gets wiped out by a single unexpected storm? Life is full of risks, and obviously you can't predict every disaster. But you can manage catastrophe using two core methods. First, actively avoiding risk, like simply driving safely to prevent an accident, or relying on that emergency fund we built earlier. Second, and this is absolutely crucial, transferring the massive financial burdens to someone else. This is exactly what insurance is. You pay a relatively small premium to an insurance company, and in exchange, they take on the catastrophic risk if, say, your house burns down or you get hit with a massive medical bill.
Putting a secure roof on our house also means protecting yourself from highly sophisticated modern scams. Scammers completely prey on our emotions and our natural desire for a quick win. Always remember this golden rule. If someone promises you a guaranteed 50% return, it is absolutely too good to be true. No exceptions. Furthermore, protect your PII, your personal identifiable information, like your social security number or your passwords, literally at all costs. Always trust your skeptical instincts.
Which brings us to Section 5, the power of investing.
Okay, so our foundation is strong, the walls are up, the roof is totally secure. Now it's time to plant a garden to relentlessly grow our wealth over time. The absolute crucial point here is that you should never, ever skip straight to the sexy world of investing until you've locked in the first 3 foundational steps of this framework: budget, emergency fund, and goals. Those have to come first. Once you're actually ready, step 4 is to diversify your investments. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, whether that's mutual funds, index funds like the S&P 500, or bonds. And finally, step 5, review and adjust regularly.
To really understand why we invest early, let's look at the pretty incredible parable of Miguel and Jasmine. So they start at the exact same company. Miguel immediately starts investing a tiny amount, just $25 a month, into his retirement fund. Jasmine, on the other hand, decides to wait. She holds off for a full 10 years, but then she kind of panics and decides to catch up by investing double what Miguel does, putting in $50 a month for the next 30 years.
And this right here reveals the magic of the 8th wonder of the world: compound interest. When they finally retire, who has more? Miguel does. He ends up with $168,000 compared to Jasmine's $147,000. Even though Jasmine contributed double the monthly amount for 30 solid years, Miguel's money was quietly working for him for a full 40 years. This visually and mathematically proves that starting early with less money absolutely crushes starting late with more money, every single time.
Now, you might be wondering, why invest at all? Why not just shove my cash in a safe under the bed? Well, investing is completely non-negotiable, and it's all because of inflation. Inflation is basically a silent thief. It's the steady upward crawl of prices, let's say around 3% a year, that guarantees your idle cash will quietly lose its purchasing power every single year. So if your money isn't growing at least at the rate of inflation, you are mathematically getting poorer just by standing still.
Finally, we arrive at Section 6. Big financial life decisions. Let's use our completed financial blueprint to tackle one of life's most structural and honestly most stressful choices. Our culture heavily insists that buying real estate is always the superior move, that renting is just throwing money away. But when you strip away the emotion and actually look at the math, the truth is super fascinating. Say you're looking at a $400,000 home versus renting a place for $1,500 a month. When you buy, you aren't just paying the mortgage. You're paying unrecoverable costs like property taxes and maintenance, bringing the real annual cost to around $18,000. If you rent, sure, you pay $18,000 a year, but you get to take the $100,000 you would have used for a down payment and invest it instead. If it earns even a conservative return, that offsets your rent cost, bringing your net yearly cost down to, say, $16,000. So mathematically, depending on your market, renting can actually be the much smarter financial play.
And that brings us to the ultimate realization here. True financial literacy isn't about being born rich, and you definitely don't need to be a math genius. It's about grabbing the tools we've outlined today, budgeting effectively, mastering your debt, protecting your assets, and investing as early as possible, and making your money actually work for you, starting right now. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Looking at your life right now, will you continue to let your money control you, or will you seize this blueprint and use the power of time to control your wealth? The choice is entirely yours. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.